The first gunshot had not yet been fired, but Clara Bennett would later understand that the war began the moment Adrian Moretti went down on one knee. The grand Halston Ballroom glittered beneath thousands of suspended crystals. Golden light spilled across white marble floors, reflected in champagne towers and diamond necklaces. A string quartet performed beneath a balcony draped in winter roses, while senators, celebrities, judges, and billionaires moved through the room with the easy confidence of people accustomed to being noticed. Clara stood among them in a dark emerald gown, feeling like a misplaced comma in someone else's carefully written sentence. She had almost refused the invitation. 6 months earlier, she had pulled 9-year-old Oliver Grant away from a speeding delivery truck outside Lincoln Elementary School. Oliver happened to be the son of one of America's most famous television hosts, and the rescue had transformed Clara into a reluctant local hero. She had not thought of herself as brave. She had simply seen a child in danger and moved. Tonight, the Grant Foundation was honoring her during its annual charity auction. Clara's photograph had been printed in the program between a senator who had donated a private jet journey and an actress auctioning a weekend at her Malibu home. Clara had donated 3 hours of after-school reading lessons. She preferred her contribution. At 34, Clara had learned how to occupy space without asking permission. She was plus-size, graceful in a body that strangers sometimes presumed they were entitled to evaluate. She did not hate herself, nor did she spend her life waiting to become worthy of beautiful dresses or crowded rooms. Still, she could feel the assessments around her. The women in couture who looked twice at her department store gown, the men who glanced past her in search of someone more useful, the photographers who had taken one mandatory picture and moved on. Clara accepted it with calm amusement. She had 32 fourth graders who considered whispering during silent reading an act of rebellion. Wealthy strangers did not frighten her. Then Adrian Moretti entered the ballroom. The room did not fall silent. It changed temperature. Conversations softened. Shoulders stiffened. Men who controlled corporations watched him as if measuring the distance to the nearest exit. Adrian wore a black tuxedo without ornament. No visible watch, no bright cufflinks, no sign of wealth except the absolute precision of everything surrounding him. 2 men walked behind him. Neither smiled. Clara knew his name because everyone in Chicago did. Adrian Moretti was officially the chairman of an international logistics company and the owner of several luxury hotels. Unofficially, he was said to control the city after midnight. Restaurants reserved tables for him that he had not requested. Police captains returned his calls. Politicians denied knowing him while attending his private dinners. There were rumors of missing rivals, burned warehouses, and judges who suddenly retired after meeting his attorneys. Clara had expected a loud man, a cruel man, someone eager to display power. Adrian was worse. He was calm. He paused beside Governor James Callahan and his daughter Victoria, a beautiful socialite dressed in silver. Victoria touched Adrian's sleeve with the familiarity of someone accustomed to being desired. Adrian did not appear to notice. His eyes moved across the ballroom, studying doors, balconies, waiters, security guards, and hands hidden beneath jackets. Then he saw Clara. His gaze stopped. It did not slide over her or reduce her to a silhouette. It settled upon her face with unnerving recognition. Clara glanced behind herself. No one stood there. When she looked back, Adrian was still watching. A waiter passed too closely. Clara stepped aside, and the narrow heel of her shoe caught the edge of her gown. She steadied herself before falling, but one of the satin straps slipped loose around her ankle. She bent slightly to fix it. Adrian moved. The governor was speaking to him. Adrian walked away mid-sentence. Victoria reached for his arm. He passed her without turning. A senator extended his hand, only to lower it when Adrian continued across the floor. One by one, conversations faded. Adrian stopped before Clara. Up close, he was taller than she had realized. His dark hair was combed back from a severe, striking face. His grey eyes revealed little, but they searched her, as if confirming that she was real. "Miss Bennett," he said. Clara's brows lifted. "You know who I am?" "Yes." "Should I be concerned?" "Usually." She almost smiled. His gaze dropped to her shoe. Before Clara understood his intention, Adrian Moretti knelt on the marble floor. The ballroom went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The string quartet stopped in the middle of a note. Several guests turned fully toward them. Camera flashes began almost immediately. Adrian rested one hand lightly beneath Clara's heel and reached for the loose satin strap. Clara stared down at the most feared man in Chicago. "What are you doing?" "Your shoe is loose." "I noticed. You could fall." "I almost did." His fingers moved with unexpected care, securing the strap around her ankle. Clara became acutely aware of the warmth of his hand against her skin, and hundreds of people watching. "You do realize," she murmured, "that I could have fixed it myself." "I do." "Then why are you kneeling?" His eyes lifted to hers. "Because I was closer." It was plainly untrue. He had crossed half the ballroom. She tried to pull her foot away, but his hand tightened gently around her heel. "Stay still." Clara's pulse shifted. "I don't take orders well." Something almost human moved through his expression. "I know." The answer disturbed her. "How would you know?" Adrian finished fastening the strap and rose slowly. The room remained frozen around them. He looked at her shoe, then at her face. Better. Vivienne Cross, a world-famous model wearing a silver gown worth more than Clara's car, approached with a smile, sharpened by humiliation. "Well," Vivienne said, "that may be the most expensive shoe repair in Chicago." Adrian did not look at her. "Clara did. I'm afraid I forgot to ask for a receipt." A few guests nearby hid their amusement. Vivian's smile tightened. "I didn't realize Mr. Moretti was so attentive to wardrobe emergencies." "Only important ones," Adrian said. His gaze remained on Clara. The words rippled through the ballroom. Victoria Callahan stared from across the floor, her expression frozen. Clara felt the weight of attention growing around her. She disliked being turned into a spectacle, and she disliked even more that Adrian seemed unsurprised by it. "Thank you," she said. "I should return to my table." She turned. Adrian caught her wrist, not painfully, only enough to stop her. Clara looked down at his hand. "Let go." He released her at once, but his attention had moved beyond her shoulder. Two men stood near the western exit. Their black suits matched the hotel security uniforms, but their focus was not on the crowd. It was on Clara. One of the men touched his cuff. Adrian stepped closer, placing himself between Clara and the exit. "Who came with you?" "No one. Who knows you're here?" "My principal." "Several teachers." "Family?" "I don't have any nearby." "Why?" "Go to the powder room." She frowned. "Excuse me?" "Use the eastern corridor. Do not speak to anyone. You don't get to order me into a bathroom because you tied my shoe." His eyes met hers. "Someone in this room intends to take you." Clara searched his face for mockery and found none. "You don't know me. That is where you are wrong." The lights went out. Screams rose through the darkness. The chandeliers vanished, plunging the ballroom into a blackness broken only by red emergency lights near the exits. Tables overturned. Glass shattered. The quartet dissolved into the scraping of chairs and terrified voices. Adrian's arm locked around Clara's waist. He pulled her against him and turned, shielding her body with his own. "Stay down." A hand seized Clara's shoulder. Adrian struck before she could scream. There was a grunt, the crack of bone, and a body fell against a table. Clara barely saw Adrian draw a handgun from beneath his jacket. The first shot exploded through the ballroom. Guests dropped to the floor. Bullets tore through the champagne display. Adrian forced Clara behind a marble column and stood in front of her. "Are you hurt?" "No." "Look at me." She did. "Are you hurt?" "No." A bullet struck the column, showering them with stone dust. Adrian fired twice. A man near the western doorway collapsed. Clara's ears rang. The ballroom had transformed into chaos, silk dresses dragging through broken glass, politicians crawling beneath tables, armed guards shouting while camera flashes burst uselessly in the darkness. Adrian touched the device hidden in his ear. "Bring the car to the kitchen. North exit is compromised." A voice answered faintly. Clara looked at the gun in his hand. "You expected this?" "Not here, but you expected something." He pulled a smaller pistol from an ankle holster and held it toward her. Clara stared. "I teach 4th grade. Tonight, you are a target. I don't know how to fire a gun. Keep your finger away from the trigger. If anyone gets past me, aim for his chest." Her hand shook as she accepted it. "Why would anyone want me? They believe you possess something. I don't. They only need to believe you might." "How do you know?" Adrian did not answer. The realization arrived slowly. He had known danger surrounded her. He had crossed the ballroom because he saw the men at the exit. Perhaps he had knelt because he needed an excuse to reach her without alarming them. Or perhaps that was only part of the reason. "How long have you been watching me?" she asked. His jaw tightened. "Long enough to know you leave school at 4:15 on Tuesdays." Cold moved through her. "You followed me? I protected you without telling me. You would not have believed me." "I don't believe you now." A voice emerged from the darkness. "Adrian." The gunfire stopped. Victor Salerno stepped into the red emergency light near the auction platform. He was silver-haired, elegant, and smiling. Armed men surrounded him in a disciplined semicircle. Clara knew the name. The Salernos were Moretti rivals. Their feud had existed long enough to become part of Chicago folklore. Victor looked at Clara as though greeting a guest at dinner. "Miss Bennett, your mother had your eyes." Clara's breath caught. "My mother is dead." "Yes, that has been inconvenient for everyone." Adrian raised his weapon. "Do not speak to her." Victor's smile widened. "You still haven't told her." Clara looked at Adrian. "Told me what?" Victor nodded toward the silver pendant resting against Clara's chest. It had belonged to her mother. Clara had worn it nearly every day for 11 years. That pendant contains the final coordinate to the Balandi Reserve. Clara touched the necklace. "I have no idea what that means." $1 billion in bearer bonds, diamonds, private ledgers, and evidence capable of imprisoning half the political class in Illinois, Victor said. "Your mother hid it before she disappeared from our world." "My mother was an accountant." "Your mother was many things." Adrian stepped fully in front of Clara. Victor studied him with amusement. "You've protected her for 3 years, watched her apartment, replaced her building superintendent, bought the company that maintains her school's security system, yet you never told her why." Clara stared at Adrian's back. Every strange moment suddenly rearranged itself. The black SUV outside her apartment, the locksmith who had replaced her door for free, the quiet new custodian at school who had the posture of a soldier. "You did all that?" Adrian did not turn. Victor continued. "Ask him about Daniel Hale." Clara's stomach tightened. Daniel had been her mother's attorney. 2 years earlier, he had called Clara and asked to meet. He vanished before the appointment. Police never found him. Clara's voice dropped. "What about him?" Victor looked delighted. "Ask Adrian who made him disappear." Clara stared at the man shielding her. "Did you kill Daniel?" Adrian's silence frightened her more than the gunfire. Finally, he said, "No." "Then where is he?" "Alive." "Where?" "In protective custody." "Whose?" "Mine." Clara stepped back. "You imprisoned him. I kept Victor from cutting the truth out of him." Victor laughed softly. "How noble." Adrian's gaze never left him. "You came here for the pendant. You will leave without it." I came for more than a necklace. Victor's eyes returned to Clara. I came to show her what you are. He lifted 2 fingers. A gunshot cracked from the balcony. Adrian turned, but not fast enough. The bullet struck him high in the shoulder. Clara screamed. Adrian staggered, recovered, and fired toward the balcony. One of Victor's men dropped behind the railing. The ballroom erupted again. Adrian grabbed Clara's hand. Run. They crossed the floor through gunfire and shattered glass. Clara's heel slipped, but Adrian kept her upright despite blood spreading across his tuxedo. His men emerged from the eastern corridor, returning fire. A black-haired guard opened the kitchen door. Car is ready. Adrian pushed Clara through. Victor's voice followed them. You cannot hide her forever. Adrian looked back once. No, he said, but I can bury everyone who tries to reach her. Chapter 2. The House Without Windows. The black SUV tore through rain-slicked Chicago streets, while 2 identical vehicles followed behind. Clara sat beside Adrian in the rear compartment, pressing a folded cloth against his shoulder. Blood soaked through almost immediately. You need a hospital. No, you were shot. I noticed. Apparently, noticing emergencies is one of your talents. His eyes shifted toward her, even wounded. He appeared unnervingly controlled. Keep pressure on it. I am. Harder. She pressed down. His jaw tightened, but he made no sound. The driver took a corner at speed. Clara braced herself against the seat. Where are we going? A safe house. I'm not staying with you. Victor knows your name, your apartment, and your school. My students, they are protected. Her hand froze. What did you do? Moretti security is already at the school. No one will approach the building without my knowledge. You cannot put armed criminals near children. They are licensed security officers who work for a criminal. His expression cooled. That distinction will matter less when someone tries to take one of your students to control you. Clara stared at him. He knew exactly which fear would silence her. That's manipulation. It is the truth. You have been making choices about my life without asking me. Yes, at least you admit it. I have never lied about needing control. No, you simply hide the things you control. The SUV descended into an underground garage beneath an anonymous stone building on the lakefront. Adrian's guard opened the door. Clara stepped out and found herself surrounded by armed men. A woman in navy medical scrubs hurried forward with a case. Mr. Moretti, the surgical room is prepared. Adrian looked at Clara. You are coming with me. Why? Because if I lose consciousness, you will attempt to leave. I might attempt it while you're awake. His gaze darkened. Then I prefer to keep you where I can see you. The safe house was unlike any home Clara had entered. It was spacious but windowless, decorated in dark wood, pale stone, and muted gold. There were no personal photographs, no clutter, nothing that revealed who lived there. The medical room resembled a private hospital suite. Adrian removed his jacket and shirt without ceremony. Clara tried not to stir. His torso bore several scars, some thin and faded. One long mark below his ribs, another round scar near his side. The doctor examined the wound. The bullet passed through. No arterial damage. Repair it. The doctor glanced at Clara. She should wait outside. She stays. Clara folded her arms. I am not one of your employees. No, Adrian said. They listen. The doctor hid a smile. Clara remained partly because she refused to be dismissed, and partly because leaving Adrian's sight felt more dangerous than staying. He refused general anesthesia. The doctor cleaned and stitched the wound while Adrian sat motionless. Only his hands betrayed pain. His fingers tightened around the edge of the table until the knuckles whitened. Clara found herself watching them. Without thinking, she placed her hand over his. Adrian looked at her. The room seemed to contract around that single point of contact. She almost withdrew. His fingers turned beneath hers and closed around her hand. Not possessively, not commanding. As though holding on, the doctor continued working. Adrian never looked away from Clara. When the last stitch was placed, Clara gently freed her hand. You should rest. So should you. I need to call my principal. A secure phone is in the next room. She paused at the door. Daniel Hale. I want to see him. Adrian's expression became unreadable. Not tonight. That was not a request. You are in no position to make demands. Clara turned fully toward him. You have followed me, hidden the truth about my mother, confined her attorney, and dragged me into a safe house. I am exactly in the position to make demands. His guards avoided looking at them. Adrian buttoned a clean shirt slowly. Daniel is in Canada. Then arrange a video call. He will not speak over a line. Why? Because he trusts no one. He trusted my mother. That is why he is alive. Clara stepped closer. What was my mother involved in? Adrian's eyes hardened. Something she tried to escape. And you? I was born inside it. Did you know her? Yes. How? A long silence followed. She saved my life. Clara had expected almost anything else. When? I was 24. My father had been murdered, and 3 families were fighting over what remained of his organization. Your mother kept the financial records. She discovered that one of my own captains had sold my location to Victor, and she warned you. She walked into a warehouse full of armed men and gave me the ledger proving it. That sounds like her. Clara smiled despite herself. Her mother, Elena, had been gentle but stubborn. She once spent 6 weeks fighting a utility company over a neighbor's wrongful bill. What did you promise her? Adrian's gaze dropped briefly to the pendant. To protect you if she could not. Clara's chest tightened. She knew she was going to die. She knew Victor would never stop searching for the reserve. What exactly is in it? Money, evidence, names. Enough information to collapse several families, including mine. Then why didn't my mother give it to the police? Because some of the names belong to police. Clara looked away. The safe house suddenly felt smaller. Adrian moved toward her but stopped before touching her. She wanted to make certain no single family could possess it. She divided the access code into 3 pieces. 1 went to Daniel. 1 remained with her. The final piece was hidden in your necklace. You knew I had it. I suspected. Yet, you let me wear it every day. Removing it would have alerted the people watching you. The people other than you. His mouth tightened. Yes, Clara's anger returned. You claim you protected me, but you used me as bait. No, you left the key around my neck because it kept your enemies visible. I left it because your mother made me swear that I would not take it until you chose to give it. She stared at him. That answer was inconveniently different. Why didn't you tell me? Because knowing would have changed the way you lived. You would have searched for danger in every stranger. I should have been allowed to decide. Yes, the admission surprised her. Adrian looked toward the floor. For 3 years I told myself ignorance kept you safe. Tonight proved I was wrong. There was no apology, but Clara heard regret beneath the words. Why 3 years? She asked. My mother died 11 years ago. Daniel discovered that Victor had found your identity 3 years ago. And then you started watching me. Yes. How often? Adrian did not answer. Clara narrowed her eyes. How often? Every day. The words settled between them. You personally watched me every day. When possible. That is not protection. That is obsession. Something changed in his eyes. Perhaps. Clara's pulse quickened. She turned away before he could see it. The secure phone rang. One of Adrian's guards answered, listened, and looked toward him. Sir. Someone entered Miss Bennett's apartment. Adrian became still. Victor. No. Female. No forced entry. Clara frowned. No one has a key. The guard placed an image on the wall monitor. Security footage showed a woman entering Clara's apartment. She wore a hood, but as she turned toward the camera, Clara recognized her. "Mara." Adrian looked at her. "Who is she?" "My mother's younger sister. You told the police you had no living relatives." "I thought I didn't." "Mara disappeared after my mother's funeral." On screen, Mara walked directly to Clara's bedroom closet, removed a floorboard, and retrieved a small black box. Clara stared. "I didn't know that was there." Adrian reached for his phone. "Stop her." The guard spoke into his earpiece. On the monitor, Mara turned toward the camera. She seemed to know they were watching. She lifted the black box and held a handwritten sign beside it. "Clara, do not trust. Adrian Moretti." Then the feed went black. Chapter 3. The Woman in the Photograph. By dawn, rain had become snow. Clara stood in the safe house kitchen, holding a cup of coffee she had forgotten to drink. Adrian's men had searched her apartment and the surrounding blocks. Mara was gone. So was the black box. Adrian entered wearing a charcoal sweater beneath his shoulder bandage. He appeared less like a mafia boss without his suit, but not less dangerous. "Your aunt used an underground exit connected to the building next door," he said. "My apartment has an underground exit?" The building was once used for liquor storage during Prohibition. Of course it was. She had help. From Victor? Possibly. Clara turned toward him. Mara hated criminals. After my mother died, she accused Daniel of getting her killed. Then she vanished. What did the box contain? I told you. I didn't know it existed. Adrian placed a photograph on the counter. It had been found beneath the loose floorboard. The picture showed Clara's mother standing beside a much younger Adrian. Elena Bennett was smiling. Adrian was bloodied, his arm in a sling, his expression already guarded. Behind them stood Mara and Victor Salerno. Clara studied the image. My mother knew Victor personally. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? I had never seen this photograph. She looked at Victor's hand, resting on Mara's shoulder. They were together. Adrian nodded. For a time, Clara felt the floor tilt beneath her. My aunt was in love with Victor Salerno? More likely she was recruited by him. You assume everyone is a weapon. Experience rarely punishes that assumption. Clara pushed the photograph away. Maybe Mara is trying to protect me. Then she chose a strange method. She warned me not to trust you. Adrian's expression did not change. Do you? Clara opened her mouth, then closed it. She trusted him to protect her body. She did not trust him with the truth. Not completely. He absorbed the answer without protest. Good. Complete trust would make you careless. You are the only man I have ever met who can turn emotional damage into a security recommendation. He almost smiled. The sound of approaching footsteps interrupted them. A guard entered. Sir, Governor Callahan is on line 1. The press has photographs from the ballroom. Clara grew on it. Adrian switched on the television. Every major station displayed the same image. Adrian on one knee, his hand around Clara's ankle. Clara looking down at him beneath golden chandeliers. The headlines ranged from romantic speculation to political panic. Who is the mystery woman who brought Chicago's most feared man to his knees? Mafia king publicly chooses schoolteacher over governor's daughter. Blood and diamonds. Secret romance behind Halston shooting. Clara covered her face. This is a nightmare. Adrian studied the photograph. It is not entirely inaccurate. She lowered her hands. Which part? You brought me to my knees. I had a loose shoe. That does not explain why I crossed the room. Then explain it. His Hase held hers. I saw them watching you. That explains why you approached me, not why I knelt. The air changed. Clara looked away first. The guard cleared his throat. The governor wants assurance that his daughter was not deliberately abandoned. Adrian's face cooled. She was surrounded by 12 federal agents. The public perception is irrelevant. Clara looked at him. You left the governor's daughter to reach me. Yes. You knew the cameras would see. Yes. And you still did it. His answer was quiet. I would do worse in front of more powerful people. She did not know whether to feel protected or trapped, perhaps both. By mid-morning, the safe house had become a command center. Screens showed traffic cameras, news reports, and maps of the city. Adrian's men tracked Victor's vehicles, while lawyers fought to suppress Clara's personal information. It was too late. Reporters gathered outside Lincoln Elementary. Photographs of Clara's apartment appeared online. Her students' parents began calling the school. Clara paced the main room. I need to make a statement. No, this affects my job. You will not appear publicly. I refuse to hide while strangers define me. Victor wants you visible. And you want me obedient. Adrian stepped closer. I want you alive. You don't get to use fear every time I disagree. His voice lowered. You saw what happened last night. Yes. And I also saw you get shot because someone wanted to reach me. I will not allow my students to think I abandoned them because I am afraid. His jaw tightened. What do you propose? A live interview from a secure location. I say I am safe. The school was not involved. And the speculation about us is false. Adrian's gaze sharpened. False? Clara's pulse skipped. We are not in a relationship. No. You sound disappointed. I rarely sound anything. That is not an answer. He leaned closer. Would you prefer that I lie? Before she could respond, a guard announced that the television host Oliver Grant's father had arrived. David Grant entered with 2 security officers. He crossed the room and embraced Clara. Thank God. I'm fine. I should never have invited you. This is not your fault. David looked at Adrian. Is she truly safe here? Yes. From Salerno? Yes. From you? The room became silent. Clara stepped between them before Adrian could answer. I can speak for myself. David looked embarrassed. I'm sorry. You care. I understand. David took her hands. I can arrange federal protection. You don't have to stay with him. Adrian's gaze dropped to their joined hands. The temperature seemed to fall. Clara noticed. So did David. Adrian spoke calmly. Federal protection was compromised at the gala. David released her. You think Salerno has agents inside the government? I know he does. David turned back to Clara. Then come to my estate in Connecticut. No one knows the property. Adrian's expression darkened. I know it. That doesn't surprise me. Clara folded her arms. I am not moving between wealthy men's houses like disputed property. David flushed. Adrian looked almost approving. Clara continued. I will remain here until I understand the threat. Then I will decide what happens next. You cannot return to your apartment, Adrian said. I know. Or the school. For now. Or leave without an escort. She exhaled. Do not ruin the progress we just made. David glanced between them. The tension was impossible to miss. He gave Clara a card. A producer I trust can arrange the interview. No location will be revealed. Adrian took the card before Clara could. She glared at him. He placed it on the table. I will verify him. You could have asked. You would have said no. That does not make taking it acceptable. No? It makes it efficient. David quietly stepped backward. I should leave. After he was gone, Clara turned on Adrian. You were jealous? No. You stared at his hands. I assess threats. David is married. That does not prevent stupidity. Clara laughed once despite herself. Adrian's eyes narrowed. You find this amusing. I find it fascinating that a man who controls half of Chicago cannot admit a simple emotion. I have no reason to be jealous. Good. Because Grant is not capable of protecting you. There it is. What? The possessive part. His gaze moved over her face. You have seen very little of that part. The words were quiet, intimate, and unmistakably dangerous. Clara's heartbeat accelerated. Adrian raised one hand, almost touching her cheek. His fingers stopped an inch from her skin. For a suspended moment, neither moved. Then the wall monitor sounded an alert. Mara's face appeared on every screen. She was calling through an encrypted channel. "Clara," she said, "if you can hear me, you have 12 hours to bring me the pendant." Clara moved toward the screen. "Mara?" Her aunt looked older, exhausted, and afraid. "I never abandoned you," Mara continued. "I stayed away because Adrian would have killed me if he learned the truth." Adrian's face became stone. "What truth?" Clara asked. Mara swallowed. "That your mother did not die in an accident." Clara stopped breathing. "She was murdered." Mara looked directly into the camera, and Adrian Moretti gave the order. The connection ended. Chapter 4. The Lie Between Them. Clara turned slowly. Adrian stood several feet away, his expression unreadable. "Tell me she is lying." He did not answer quickly enough. Clara felt something inside her fracture. "Tell me. I did not order your mother's death, but you know who did." "Yes." "Who?" His silence returned. "She crossed the room and struck him." The sound echoed through the safe house. Every guard looked away. Adrian's head turned with the blow. A faint red mark appeared across his cheek. He did not retaliate. He did not move. Clara's hand trembled. "You have hidden every truth that belongs to me." "I was protecting a promise." "Whose promise?" "Your mother's." "Stop speaking for her." His eyes flashed. "She asked me never to tell you how she died. And you agreed? She wanted you free of this world. This world found me anyway." Adrian looked toward his men. "Leave us." The room emptied. Clara remained near the center of the floor, furious and afraid. Adrian poured 2 glasses of water. She ignored hers. 11 years ago, he began, your mother arranged to deliver the Belandi ledgers to a federal prosecutor. She believed the evidence would end the war. What happened? The prosecutor worked for Victor. Clara's stomach tightened. Elena was taken before the meeting. Victor interrogated her for 2 days. Pain flashed through Adrian's eyes. I found the location too late. Clara could barely speak. How did she die? She escaped the building. Victor's men pursued her onto Lakeshore Drive. Her car was forced through a barrier. The official report had called it an accident caused by ice. Clara remembered the phone call. The hospital corridor. Her mother's coat returned in a clear plastic bag. Why would Mara accuse you? Because she told Victor where your mother was going. Clara stared. No, Mara believed Victor loved her. He persuaded her that Elena intended to steal the reserve for herself. You have proof? Yes. Show me. Adrian opened a secure file. An audio recording played. Mara's younger voice spoke urgently to Victor, giving him the prosecutor's address and the time of Elena's meeting. Clara listened until she could not bear it. Turn it off. Adrian did. Tears burned behind her eyes. Mara betrayed her. Yes, and now she wants the pendant. She may believe giving Victor the reserve will buy her freedom, or she might be working against him. Hope is not a strategy. Clara wiped her face. Why did my mother trust you? Adrian looked down at his hands. Because I once gave her a reason. He told Clara about the night Elena had found him wounded in a warehouse after his father's murder. Adrian had expected her to sell him to the highest bidder. Instead, she hid him in her apartment for 6 days. She changed his bandages, argued with him, made him soup he claimed was terrible. Then she handed him evidence, revealing the traitor inside his family. She told me that power without loyalty was only fear wearing a better suit, Adrian said. Clara smiled through tears. That sounds like her. She was the first person after my mother died who expected me to become more than what my father made. And did you? Adrian met her eyes. No. The honesty unsettled her. I built an empire stronger than his. I killed men. I destroyed families that threatened mine. I became exactly what she feared. Then why protect me? Because I could not save her. That is guilt. At first, Clara's breath caught. What was it later? His gaze became almost unbearable. Later, it was you. He walked toward her slowly. I watched you stay after school with children whose parents never arrived on time. I watched you carry groceries upstairs for an elderly neighbor. I watched you stand in the snow for 40 minutes because one of your students was afraid to board the bus alone. You invaded my life. Yes, you call that love? I did not call it anything, but you felt something. His voice lowered. I felt peace when I knew you were safe. Clara's anger remained, but it no longer stood alone. You should have spoken to me. I wanted to. Why didn't you? Because men like me do not enter lives like yours without destroying them. You entered anyway. No, I remained outside, in the rain, apparently. His eyes shifted. Clara noticed. How many nights did you sit outside my apartment? Enough. That is not a number. 187. She stared. You counted? I remember everything involving you. The admission should have frightened her. Part of it did, but another part reached somewhere lonely inside her. The place created by years of being overlooked, not because she hated herself, but because few people had ever paid attention with such intensity. Adrian had remembered the color of her winter coat, her schedule, her students, the exact number of nights he had watched her window. It was too much. It was dangerous, and it was impossible to dismiss. Clara stepped away. We need to find Mara. Yes, I will meet her. No, she asked for me. She wants the pendant. I can give her a copy. Adrian shook his head. She will test it. Then we give her the real one. His expression turned lethal. Absolutely not. It belongs to me. It is the only leverage keeping Victor from killing you, and it may be the only way to learn what Mara knows. I will not risk you. You do not own my risk. Adrian came closer, until only inches separated them. I own every consequence that follows it. No, you don't. If you die, I will. Clara went still. He seemed to realize what he had admitted. The control returned too late. You barely know me, she whispered. I know you hate cinnamon in coffee. You read the ending of books twice. You call every student my love when they are frightened. You pretend not to cry at old films and always cry at the same scene. You buy dresses you like and leave them in the closet because you worry the occasion is not important enough. His gaze moved over the emerald gown she still had not changed out of. You are the occasion. Clara forgot how to breathe. Adrian lifted his hand again. This time, his fingers touched her cheek. The contact was gentle, almost reverent. She should have moved. Instead, she leaned into his palm. A sound like pain escaped him. He lowered his forehead toward hers. Their mouths were inches apart. Clara felt his breath. The safe house alarm erupted. Adrian pulled away instantly. One of his men entered. We traced Mara's transmission. Abandoned St. Vincent Church on the south side. Adrian reached for his coat. Clara followed. You are staying here. No, Clara. If you lock me in this house, I will spend every hour finding a way out. He studied her, and apparently believed it. You stay beside me. I stay beside the truth. For tonight, they are the same thing. Chapter 5. The Church in the Snow. St. Vincent Church had been abandoned for 20 years. Snow covered the broken stone steps. Wind moved through shattered, stained glass windows, carrying flakes into the dark sanctuary. Black SUVs surrounded the block. Adrian entered first with a gun beneath his coat. Clara walked beside him wearing body armor under a borrowed wool jacket. Candles burned along the altar. Mara stood beneath a damaged statue of the Virgin Mary. She held the black box. No Victor. No visible guards. Adrian's men spread through the shadows. Clara moved forward. Mara. Her aunt's face crumpled. For 1 second, Clara saw the woman who had taught her to bake, danced with her in the kitchen, and disappeared after the funeral. Oh, sweetheart. Mara opened her arms. Clara did not move. Did you betray my mother? Mara lowered her hands. Adrian showed you the recording. Yes. I thought Victor loved me. That does not answer the question. I gave him the address. I did not know he would kill her. You knew who he was. Tears filled Mara's eyes. I was 27 and stupid. My mother died because you were stupid. The words echoed through the church. Mara flinched. Adrian stood several steps behind Clara, silent. Mara looked toward him. He killed the prosecutor. Adrian did not deny it. Clara turned. Did you? Yes. Why? He gave Victor your mother's location. You keep deciding who deserves to die. That is what I am. Mara laughed bitterly. And you believe he can love you, Clara? Clara faced her again. This is not about what I believe. It should be. He did not protect you because he was noble. He protected you because the reserve contains the ledger proving his father ordered the murder of Adrian's mother. Adrian became still. Clara looked at him. Is that true? Yes. The answer landed with frightening clarity. The reserve was not only money or political evidence. It contained the truth about his family. You need it too. I need it destroyed. Mara held up the black box. Your mother wanted it exposed. What is inside that box? Her journal. The second coordinate. Adrian took one step forward. Mara raised a detonator. His men lifted their weapons. Stop, Mara said. The church is wired. Clara scanned the pews. Small red lights blinked beneath several benches. Mara, what have you done? What I should have done years ago. I am ending Victor by killing all of us. He is coming. As if summoned by the words, headlights illuminated the broken windows. Vehicles stopped outside. Victor's voice echoed from the church entrance. You always were theatrical, my love. Armed men filled the doorway. Adrian pulled Clara behind a stone pillar. Victor entered without a coat, snow collecting on his shoulders. He looked toward Mara with something resembling affection. You took my box. You took my sister. She chose her fate. You murdered her. Victor Sahil. And you have spent 11 years pretending your betrayal did not help me. Mara's hand shook around the detonator. Victor's gaze moved to Clara. Give me the necklace. No. Adrian's eyes flicked toward her. Victor smiled. You sound like him already. Clara stepped from behind the pillar, despite Adrian's attempt to stop her. You want the reserve because it contains names. It contains power. It contains evidence against you. Evidence becomes harmless when everyone who understands it is dead. Clara looked at the blinking explosives. Then why come inside? Victor's smile faded slightly. Because Mara does not have the courage to press that button. Mara's face collapsed. He had known exactly where to wound her. Clara understood then that Victor's greatest weapon was not violence. It was certainty. He made people believe he understood them better than they understood themselves. Clara walked slowly toward Mara. Adrian whispered her name. She ignored him. Mara, look at me. Her aunt did. You failed my mother once. Mara's breath broke. That does not mean Victor gets to decide who you are forever. I don't deserve forgiveness. This is not forgiveness. Clara stopped within arm's reach. This is a choice. Victor raised his gun. Adrian fired first. The church exploded into violence. Bullets tore through wooden pews. Stained glass shattered inward. Adrian's men exchanged fire with Victor's soldiers while Clara dragged Mara behind the altar. The detonator skidded across the floor. Victor moved toward it. Adrian intercepted him. The two men collided against a stone column. Victor struck Adrian's wounded shoulder. Adrian grunted but drove him backward. Clara crawled toward the detonator. A Salerno soldier raised his weapon at her. Mara threw herself between them. The bullet struck her side. Clara caught her as she fell. Adrian shot the soldier. Murder. Blood spread across her coat. She pressed the black box into Clara's hands. Your mother wrote everything. Stay with me. I'm sorry. We can discuss that later. Mara smiled faintly. You always sounded like Elena. A gunshot struck the altar. Adrian reached Clara and covered her with his body. We have to move. Mara is hurt. My men will take her. Victor had retrieved the detonator. He stood near the entrance, bleeding from his mouth. "Give me the pendant," he shouted, "or this church becomes her grave." Mara looked at Clara, then at Victor. "I loved you once." Victor's expression softened. "That was your greatest mistake." "No," Mara whispered. "Believing you loved me was." She reached beneath her coat. A second detonator rested in her hand. Victor's face changed. "Mara." She pressed the button. The rear half of the church erupted. Stone, fire, and stained glass filled the air. Adrian wrapped himself around Clara as the floor collapsed beneath them. Chapter 6. Beneath the ruins. Clara woke in darkness. Dust filled her mouth. Something heavy pressed across her legs. For several seconds, she remembered nothing. Then came the church. Mara. The explosion. Adrian? No answer. Clara pushed against the fallen wood, pinning her. "Adrian." A hand found hers in the dark. "I'm here." His voice was strained. Relief hit her with such force that tears filled her eyes. "Are you hurt?" "Yes." "Where?" "Unimportant." That usually means very important. A weak breath that might have been laughter escaped him. Emergency lights flickered somewhere beyond the rubble. Clara saw Adrian trapped beneath part of a stone beam. Blood ran from his temple. One leg was pinned. She shifted toward him. "Don't move," he said. "You cannot order me while crushed beneath a church." "I can try." Clara examined the beam. "We need leverage. My men will reach us." "What about Mara?" Adrian's silence answered. Clara closed her eyes. She had found her aunt only to lose her again. Adrian reached toward her face, brushing dust from her cheek. "I'm sorry." The tenderness nearly undid her. "You warned me not to come. I should have stopped you." "No." Mara made her choice. I made mine. You could have died. So could you. That is different. Why? Because my death would not destroy you. Clara stared at him through the dim light. "You don't know that." His expression changed. She moved closer. "Adrian, I am angry with you. I don't know whether I can forgive everything you hid, but do not presume your life means less to me." His hand closed around hers. Clara. The way he said her name contained all the words he refused to speak. She leaned forward and kissed him. For one heartbeat, he did not respond. Then the restraint broke. His hand slid behind her neck, drawing her toward him. The kiss was not gentle. It carried years of denial, nights outside her apartment, fear, guilt, and the furious relief of finding her alive. Clara forgot the dust, the blood, the stone pressing into her knees. Adrian kissed her, as though the ruined church were the only place he had ever allowed himself to want anything. Then he pulled away abruptly. "You should not have done that." Clara's breath was uneven. "Your romantic skills need work. You are in shock. I knew exactly what I was doing. You do not know what happens once I allow myself to have you." Her pulse quickened. "I am not something you have." "No." His thumb brushed her lower lip. "You are the only thing I would kneel to keep." Voices sounded beyond the rubble. His men were close. Clara looked toward the black box lying beside them. It had survived the collapse. She opened it. Inside was a leather journal, an old brass key, and a photograph of Elena Bennett standing in front of a wall of safety deposit boxes. A handwritten note lay on top. "My dearest Clara, if you are reading this, then the past has found you despite everything I did to keep you free. Do not give the reserve to the Morettis or the Salernos. Use it to end them." Clara read the line twice. Adrian watched her. "What does it say?" She handed him the letter. His face revealed nothing as he read. "Your mother wanted my family destroyed. She wanted the criminal empire destroyed." "Yes. Can you accept that?" His gaze moved from the letter to Clara. "If it is what you choose, you would surrender everything? For you?" He paused. "Yes." Rescuers removed the debris an hour later. Mara's body was recovered near the altar. Victor was not found. Chapter 7. The Fortune Beneath the Lake. The journal led them to an abandoned private bank beneath a hotel on Lake Michigan. Adrian owned the hotel. He claimed not to know the bank existed. Clara believed him, which disturbed her almost as much as doubting him. The brass key opened a service elevator concealed behind a wine cellar. It descended 6 levels beneath the city. At the bottom waited a corridor lined with steel. Daniel Hale stood beside the vault. Clara recognized him instantly despite his gray hair and thinner frame. He looked at her with tears in his eyes. "You look like Elena." Clara struck him. Daniel accepted it. "I deserved that. You let me believe you were dead. It kept you alive. That sentence is becoming extremely unpopular with me." Adrian remained several feet away. Daniel looked toward him. "You brought her. She chose to come. That is new for you." Adrian's eyes narrowed. Clara stepped between them. "No more private history. No more secrets. Open the vault." The lock required 3 pieces. The coordinate etched inside Clara's pendant. A numerical sequence hidden in Elena's journal. Daniel's memorized code. The steel door opened. Inside were rows of sealed containers, artwork, diamonds, cash, and shelves of documents. The fortune was real, but the most valuable object sat alone on a central table. A red ledger. Daniel touched it. "This contains every payment, murder order, political bribe, and hidden account connected to the 5 major families." Clara looked at Adrian. "Yours too?" "Yes." "What happens if we release it?" "Federal investigations, asset seizures, arrests, retaliation. Hundreds of people will lose power. And innocent people? Some businesses will collapse. Employees may lose jobs. Families will become targets. There was no clean victory." That was the truth her mother had understood. Destroying an empire could crush people beneath it. Clara opened the ledger. Names filled the pages. Judges, officers, executives, politicians. Besides, several entries were initials. A.M. She looked at Adrian. "How many people have you killed?" His expression did not change. "I stopped counting." Daniel looked away. Clara felt sick. The man who had knelt to fasten her shoe was capable of tenderness. He was also responsible for deaths. Love did not erase truth. She closed the ledger. "I cannot pretend this does not matter. I would not respect you if you did. If I release this, you may spend the rest of your life in prison." "Yes, you are calm about that." "I am not calm." His voice softened. "I am terrified that when you see everything I have done, you will never look at me as you did beneath the church." Clara's chest tightened. "You should be." "I know." Daniel connected a secure drive to the vault terminal. Elena designed an automated release. Once activated, the files go to federal prosecutors, journalists, and foreign regulators simultaneously. "Can it be stopped?" Clara asked. "For 60 minutes. After that." "No." Adrian's phone rang. He listened, and his face hardened. "Victor has Clara's students." The room went silent. "What?" "He seized a school bus during an evacuation drill. 12 children and the driver." Clara could no longer feel her hands. "Oliver? Among them?" Victor's voice came through the terminal speakers. "Bring the ledger and the pendant to Navy Pier. Come alone, Clara, or the children die one at a time." Adrian lifted his gun. "You are not going." Clara looked at the red ledger. "Yes, I am." Chapter 8. The bus at Navy Pier. Snow fell heavily over the frozen lake. Navy Pier had been evacuated under the pretense of a gas leak. Victor's men controlled the amusement hall, the parking structure, and the eastern dock. The yellow school bus stood beneath the giant Ferris wheel. 12 children sat inside. Clara saw their frightened faces through the windows. Oliver pressed both hands against the glass. Adrian stopped the SUV 2 blocks away. "You remain behind me." Victor demanded I come alone. "He knows you would not. He will kill them." He needs the ledger. He may kill one to prove he can. Adrian grabbed the steering wheel until his knuckles whitened. For the first time since Clara met him, his control appeared close to breaking. If you walk toward that bus, every instinct in me will follow. Then control your instincts. I have controlled them for 3 years. She turned toward him. Trust me. I trust you. I do not trust the world around you. I am part of that world. No. Yes, Adrian. I am not an object you can lock in a safe house. I am their teacher. Those children need to see someone who is not afraid. You are afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear. My 4th graders know that. His eyes closed briefly. Clara touched his face. You said you would accept my choice. I was hoping you would choose something less unbearable. She kissed his forehead. Stay where Victor cannot see you. Adrian caught her wrist. If he touches you, I know. You will burn the city. No. His chaza held hers. I will burn myself first. Clara stepped from the SUV, carrying the ledger in a clear case. She walked alone through the snow. Victor waited beside the bus. A bandage crossed one side of his face. He had survived the church explosion, but the fire had left red scars along his neck. You have a talent for inspiring sacrifice, he said. Release the children. The ledger first. Clara stopped 20 feet away. You want power, but this ledger destroys power. It gives me every weakness in the city. You cannot control what has already been copied. Victor's smile faded. You activated the release. Yes, it was a lie. The system remained paused, but Victor did not know that. He lifted his gun and aimed through the bus window at Oliver. Clara's blood turned cold. You are bluffing. So are you. She placed the case on the ground. The pendant is inside, Victor signaled. One of his men walked forward and retrieved it. He opened the case. The red ledger lay within. The pendant rested on top. Victor smiled. Bring her. 2 men seized Clara's arms. The bus doors opened. The children began moving out. Clara counted them. 1, 2, 3, 12. The driver followed. Run to the west gate, she shouted. Her students ran through the snow. Victor's men dragged Clara toward the pier. You promised to release me too. I promised the children. A gunshot cracked. The man holding Clara's right arm fell. Adrian's forces emerged from the rooftops, parking structures and service tunnels. Chaos erupted. Clara struck the second guard with her elbow and dropped behind a concrete barrier. Victor seized the case and ran toward a waiting boat. Adrian crossed the open pier through gunfire. He shot 1 man, disarmed another, and reached Clara. Are you hurt? No. He pulled her against him for 1 fierce second. Then Victor's boat engine roared. The ledger, Clara said. Let him take it. We need the evidence. I need you. He will escape. Let him. Clara looked at the children, reaching safety. Then she saw Oliver stop. A Salerno gunman rose behind an abandoned kiosk, aiming at Adrian. Clara moved first. She shoved Adrian aside. The bullet struck her. Pain exploded through her side. She fell onto the snow. Adrian caught her before her head hit the ground. For a moment, everything stopped. He looked down at the blood spreading across her coat. The sound that left him was not human. His men froze. Even Victor turned from the boat. Adrian lowered Clara gently to the ground. Stay with me. I'm here. Look at me. She tried. His face blurred. Adrian, I'm here. Oliver. He is safe. The gunman fired again. Adrian covered Clara's body and returned fire without looking. The gunman fell. Victor's boat pulled away. Adrian did not pursue it. He removed his coat, pressed it against Clara's wound, and lifted her into his arms. Around them, cameras from news helicopters captured the image. The Mafia Boss standing in falling snow, covered in Clara's blood, carrying her away while a $1 billion criminal ledger disappeared across the dark lake. Chapter 9. The Man Outside Her Door. Clara woke in a private hospital suite. Adrian sat beside the bed. He wore the same blood-stained shirt. "How long?" she whispered. 31 hours. "You didn't change." "No. You look terrible." "I have been told." She tried to move. Pain pulled through her side. "The bullet?" "Passed through. No organ damage." "The children?" "Safe." "Victor?" "Gone." "The ledger?" "Gone." Clara closed her eyes. "We failed." "No. He has the evidence." The ledger was a replica. Her eyes opened. Adrian leaned closer. "Daniel switched it before we left the vault." "You knew?" "No. You told him to." Clara remembered whispering to Daniel while Adrian arranged the rescue operation. She had almost forgotten. "The real ledger." "Released." Her breath caught. "When?" 20 minutes after you entered surgery." "What happened?" "Federal raids began this morning. 3 judges were arrested. 2 police commissioners resigned. Salerno accounts are frozen in 6 countries. And you?" "Adrian's Casa held hers. My accounts, too." "You allowed the release." "It was your choice. You could have stopped it." "Yes. Why didn't you?" "Because I promised." The door opened. 2 federal agents entered. One carried handcuffs. Clara's heart sank. The senior agent looked at Adrian. "Adrian Moretti, you are under arrest for conspiracy, racketeering, bribery, and multiple counts of homicide." Adrian stood. Clara reached for him. "No." He took her hand and pressed his lips to her fingers. "You knew this would happen," she whispered. "Yes." "You planned to surrender." "Yes." "You should have told me. You would have tried to save me." "I am trying now." A faint smile touched his mouth. "That is why I didn't tell you." The agent placed handcuffs around his wrists. Adrian did not resist. Clara's eyes filled. "Do not disappear." His expression broke at last. "I have spent 3 years outside your door." He leaned down until his forehead touched hers. "I will spend the rest of my life finding my way back to it." They took him away. Chapter 10. The Trial of Adrian Moretti. The city transformed over the following months. The Belandi files exposed a network of corruption stretching from Chicago to Washington, Rome, and Monaco. Dozens of officials were charged. Victor Salerno disappeared. The Moretti empire fractured. Adrian remained in federal custody. Clara returned to teaching after 6 weeks. Reporters waited outside Lincoln Elementary every morning. Some called her Adrian Moretti's mistress. Others called her the woman who destroyed the Mafia. She answered neither description. Her students decorated the classroom with paper snowflakes and a banner that read, "Welcome back, Mrs. Bennett." Oliver hugged her carefully around the waist. "I knew Mr. Moretti would save you." Clara looked down at him. "He helped. He loves you." Children possessed an alarming talent for directness. Clara smiled sadly. "Yes." Adrian's trial became national entertainment. Prosecutors presented evidence of murders, threats, bribery, and financial crimes. Adrian admitted to many of them. He refused to name lower-level employees coerced into service. He accepted responsibility for the organization he had built. Clara attended every day. He never asked her to. He rarely looked toward the gallery. But whenever he did, his eyes found her immediately. On the 27th day of trial, Victor Salerno reappeared. He entered the courthouse disguised as a federal marshal with 6 loyal soldiers. Their objective was not to free Adrian. It was to kill Clara before she could testify about the vault. Gunfire erupted in the corridor. Adrian heard it from inside the courtroom. He saw Clara's security detail fall through the open doors. He broke the chain securing him to the defense table. No one understood how. Perhaps fear gave him strength. Perhaps obsession did. Adrian crossed the courtroom, disarmed a marshal, and ran toward the shooting. Clara was trapped behind a stone column. Victor approached with a gun. "You took everything from me," he said. Clara pressed one hand against her scar. "No. You destroyed everything yourself." Victor raised the weapon. Adrian stepped between them. The bullet struck him in the chest. He staggered but did not fall. Victor fired again. Adrian moved forward. He seized Victor's wrist, broke it, and drove him against the courthouse railing. Victor laughed through blood. "You will die for a schoolteacher." Adrian looked toward Clara. Yes. He pushed Victor over the railing. Victor fell 3 stories into the marble atrium. Silence followed. Adrian turned toward Clara. Blood spread beneath his suit. She reached him as his knees gave way. This time, she knelt. She cradled his face between her hands. "Stay with me." His lips moved faintly. "Your shoe." Clara looked down. One strap had come loose. A broken laugh escaped through her tears. "Don't you dare." His hand reached weakly toward her ankle. "I told you. You could fall. You are not dying over a shoe." His eyes closed. Adrian. Federal agents surrounded them. Clara refused to release him until the paramedics arrived. Chapter 11. What remained of an empire? Adrian survived. The bullet had missed his heart by less than an inch. His intervention saved 14 people inside the courthouse, including 2 federal agents who later testified on his behalf. It did not erase his crimes. Nothing could. But justice, Clara learned, was not always a single, clean line. Adrian provided complete testimony against surviving criminal networks. He surrendered assets worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Much of the money was placed into restitution funds for families harmed by the Moretti organization. The court sentenced him to 12 years. With the possibility of release after 7, Clara visited every week. Their relationship did not become easy. It became honest. Adrian told her about every crime she asked about. Sometimes she left angry. Sometimes she cried in her car. Sometimes she wondered whether loving him made her complicit in a darkness she had spent her life resisting. But she never confused love with absolution. She did not forgive what he had done simply because he loved her, and Adrian never asked her to. He attended therapy inside the prison. He completed a degree in social work that Clara teased him about mercilessly. "You spent 20 years frightening people," she said during one visit. "Now you want to counsel them. I understand poor decision-making. That is the first modest statement I have ever heard from you." He placed his hand against the glass. She placed hers opposite it. The Moretti Foundation was rebuilt under independent leadership. It funded schools, domestic violence shelters, and programs for children affected by organized crime. Clara refused to run it. She remained a teacher. She did, however, create a scholarship in her mother's name. 7 years passed. On the morning of Adrian's release, rain fell over Chicago. Clara waited outside the federal facility in a dark emerald coat. She had chosen the color deliberately. The doors opened. Adrian stepped into the rain, carrying one small bag. His hair showed faint silver at the temples. His face was leaner, quieter, but his gaze possessed the same intensity. He stopped when he saw her. For the first time in 7 years, there was no glass between them. No guards. No gunfire. No cameras. Only rain. Clara walked toward him. Adrian did not move until she stood directly before him. "You came," he said. "I considered making you take the bus. I would have found you." "I know." His gaze moved over her face as if memorizing every change. "You cut your hair 3 years ago. I noticed in the photographs. You still keep photographs of me? Everyone you sent. That is slightly less disturbing now." "Only slightly?" She smiled. He lifted a hand, but hesitated before touching her. The restraint moved her more than possession ever could. Clara took his hand and placed it against her cheek. Adrian closed his eyes. The breath that left him trembled. "I do not know how to live outside," he admitted. "You will learn. I have nothing. You have consequences." His eyes opened. "That is not comforting." It was not intended to be. Then her voice softened. "You also have me." The rain grew heavier. Adrian pulled her into his arms. He held her as though the years had been a distance, measured entirely by the absence of her body against his. Clara pressed her face to his chest and heard his heart beating beneath her ear. Alive, free, changed, though not erased. "Take me home," he whispered. She leaned back. "Who's home?" His expression became uncertain. It was the first time she had ever seen him afraid of an answer. Clara took a key from her pocket. She placed it in his palm. Chapter 12. The Ballroom. 1 year later, the Grand Holston hosted the Clara Bennett Foundation Gala. The ballroom had been restored. New chandeliers hung above the marble floor. Winter roses covered the balcony. A string quartet played the same piece interrupted by gunfire 8 years earlier. Clara stood near the center of the room, wearing an emerald gown. This one had not waited in a closet for a worthy occasion. Adrian stood beside her, in a black tuxedo. He no longer controlled Chicago. Some guests still feared him. Others despised him. A few had forgiven him. Adrian did not seek any of those things. He spent his days working with organizations, helping young men escape criminal networks. At night, he returned to the modest lakefront home he shared with Clara. He still checked every lock twice. He still remembered everything she said. He still woke from dreams he refused to describe. And he still looked at her as though the entire room existed only to frame her. Oliver Grant, now 17, approached with a scholarship certificate. "You promised you wouldn't cry," he told Clara. "I made no such promise. You cried at rehearsal. That was dust. In a ballroom? Luxury dust." Adrian's mouth curved. Oliver looked at him. "Take care of her." Clara lifted a brow. "I'm standing here," Adrian answered solemnly, "with my life." "That is exactly the kind of dramatic statement we are trying to reduce," Clara said. Oliver laughed and walked away. The music changed. Adrian extended his hand. "Dance with me. You don't dance." "I learned." "When?" "Prison." Clara stared. "You learned ballroom dancing in prison?" "I had time." She placed her hand in his. They moved onto the floor. Guests watched, but Clara no longer felt misplaced among them. She was not there because a famous child had been saved. She was not a mystery woman or a mafia boss's weakness. She was Clara Bennett, teacher, daughter, survivor. The woman who had opened a vault and closed an empire. Adrian's hand rested against her back. "You are staring," she said. "I waited 7 years to do it without glass. You stared before prison. I had less permission then. That never stopped you." "No." As they turned beneath the chandeliers, Clara's shoe strap loosened. She felt it immediately. Adrian did too. He stopped dancing. Clara laughed. "Do not even think about it." The room began noticing. Adrian released her hand. Then, before hundreds of guests, he went down on one knee. The ballroom fell silent again. But this silence was different. There were no assassins at the doors, no hidden guns, no secret enemies waiting beneath the music. Adrian reached for Clara's ankle and carefully fastened the strap. She looked down at him. "Some habits never change." He lifted his eyes. "Some promises shouldn't." Then he reached inside his jacket. The room inhaled collectively. Adrian withdrew a small velvet box. Clara's amusement disappeared. He opened it. Inside rested a simple diamond ring set around a tiny piece of silver taken from Elena's pendant. Adrian remained on one knee. The feared man who had once controlled Chicago looked up at the only woman before whom he had ever willingly lowered himself. "I cannot offer you an innocent past," he said. "I cannot promise I will never be afraid or that the darkness in me will disappear." Clara's eyes filled. "I can promise you truth. I can promise that every day I have left will belong to the life we choose, not the empire I inherited." His voice broke slightly. "You taught me that devotion is not possession. Protection is not control. Love is not the power to keep someone. It is the courage to stand beside her while she remains free." The ballroom was perfectly still. "Clara Bennett, you are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. Not because you changed, but because you refused to let the world change what was strongest in you. A tear slipped down her cheek. Will you marry me? Clara glanced around the ballroom. The governor's daughter was there. So were famous actresses, models, politicians, teachers, former prisoners, and children whose lives the Foundation had changed. Years earlier, this room had wondered why Adrian Moretti had chosen her. Clara finally understood that the question had always been wrong. She had chosen him, too. Not the Empire. Not the violence. Not the man he had been. She chose the man who faced his crimes, surrendered his power, and returned to her without asking her to erase the truth. Yes, she whispered. Adrian's eyes closed briefly. Clara smiled. But stand up before someone takes another photograph. Camera flashes exploded through the ballroom. He slid the ring onto her finger and rose. Then he kissed her beneath the chandeliers. The guests disappeared into light and music. For Clara, there was only Adrian's hand against her cheek and the steady beat of the heart that had once terrified an entire city. Later that night, after the ballroom emptied, they stood alone on the balcony. Snow drifted beyond the windows. Adrian wrapped his coat around her shoulders. Clara leaned against him. Do you miss it? She asked. What? The power. He looked across the silent ballroom. Sometimes. She appreciated the honesty. What do you miss most? Knowing I could reach anyone who threatened you. And what do you have now? He turned toward her. You. That was almost dangerously romantic. I have been practicing. Clara smiled. Below them, a cleaner switched off the final chandelier. Darkness moved gently through the room. Adrian took Clara's hand. No bodyguards followed them. No black SUVs waited in formation. No enemy watched from the shadows. They walked through the empty ballroom together. When they reached the place where he had first knelt, Clara stopped. What is it? He asked. She looked down at the marble floor. This is where everything began. Adrian shook his head. No. Where then? Outside Lincoln Elementary. You stood in the snow with a frightened child for 40 minutes. You were watching? Yes. Of course you were. That was the night I understood I was already lost. Clara touched his face. You were not lost. What was I? Waiting. For what? She rose onto her toes and kissed him softly. For someone who would make you kneel without ever asking you to. They left the ballroom hand in hand. Behind them, the last light went out. Ahead of them, morning waited beyond the snow-covered city, not clean, not perfect, and not free of consequence, but theirs. And for the first time in Adrian Moretti's life, the man who had once owned an empire wanted nothing more.